Sisters who watch. Sisters who watch. Sisters who watch.
Vanderpump Rules.
Hey, y'all. Hey. Welcome to Sisters Who Watch.
Hello. I'm Shelby.
And I'm Laura, and we're sisters who watch everything. TV, sports, movies, concerts, and even Tom Sandoval and Jax Taylor acting for sympathy.
We love hate a redemption arc.
We love to watch and we love talking about it even more. Today we're watching
Vanderpump Rules and the Valley. 2 for the price of 1. That's right. It. Season 11 of Vanderpump Rules and season 1 of its new spinoff, The Valley. Double trouble.
Literally double trouble. Before we get into the episode, please make sure you give Sisters Who Watch 5 stars wherever you listen. Spotify, Apple Podcasts, 5 stars. Please leave us a review. That would mean so much to us. And give us a follower, on all social media platforms. Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, LinkedIn. We're there all at Sisters Who Watch. And go subscribe to our YouTube channel. And we now have listener support. So you can sign up on Spotify and donate money to us. That would mean so much. And we have a Zelle. We have a Zelle too. Yes. So you can Zelle us, sisterswhowatch@gmail.com. We would appreciate that so much. That keeps Sisters Who Watch going. So please support us.
And of course our merch. Right?
Yes, buy our merch. I'm wearing our hat backwards today. So go to sisterswhowatch.com and go to our shop tab and buy our merch. That's another way you can support us. So thank you guys so much. It means a lot.
Here's the log line for Vanderpump Rules. Best known as one of the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, Lisa Vanderpump opens the salacious kitchen doors of her exclusive Hollywood restaurant and lounge, Sir. Ooh. And then for the Valley, follows a group of close friends as they trade bottle service in West Hollywood for baby bottles in the Valley, all while they navigate bustling businesses, rocky relationships, and feisty friendships. Emphasis on feisty and rocky. Basically, for those who watch Vanderpump Rules or are familiar with it, The Valley is like Jax, Brittany, and Kristen's comeback show. They had been fired from Vanderpump Rules a few years ago, and now they're finally back on our TV screens.
For Pump Rules first, what were you expecting from season 11?
Well, I'm very proud to say that over the last year, I've spent endless hours binging Vanderpump Rules. Watching from the beginning so I could follow Sandoval. Everyone was talking about it. It took me like a year and a half, but I eventually did it. So I was coming in excited to finally be current and live. I will say, like, Vanderpump Rules season 10 was pure cinema. Like, you can't have like better reality TV. So I think season 11 did have a high bar to reach with the Sandoval aftermath. But I was excited. What about you? How did you feel about season 11 coming in?
Yes. So I had never seen Vanderpump Rules until last year. Our mom and our brother, they've been watching it for a long time. And they're always like, you gotta watch it. But I was just never interested. Yeah. And then, Sandoval happened. Everyone was talking about it. And, that season was airing. So I was like, okay, I gotta see why everyone's talking about this. So I hopped in halfway through season 10. And like Shelby said, cinema. Some of the best reality TV I've ever seen. And the way it all came together last season was just unbelievable. So Sandoval, got me in, and now I'm hooked. Season 10 was one of the best things. If you listened to our best TV shows of 2023, that was on my list, and pretty high on my list, I must say. It was probably the best reality show I saw last year. So expectations were high coming into season 11 because season 10 was so good. And season 11 is, the few months after Sandoval happened, post reunion, everyone's back. So I was really excited. Expectations were really, really high.
And I think for the Valley, it was a bit different.
Yes.
I was not expecting to watch it. I don't think you were either. No. But then our mom came to visit LA and she was like, you guys have to watch the Valley. Let's just watch an episode. It's so good. And we just happened to watch the episode where it was like the dinner party and they were all fighting. And Kristen was like, well, Michelle's, talking to a married man. And I was like, whoa, what is going on?
She's had a boyfriend for 2 years.
Yeah, it was a lot. And I was like, oh, maybe I need to watch this. This is entertaining.
We saw
everyone's a train wreck. Yeah, so we saw a really good episode. Maybe it was episode 4 or 5. So we did not start from the beginning. But after that, I was like, oh, I think I'm going to jump in.
I have to keep watching. I was shook at how good that episode was.
Really good.
So yes, I got pulled in to the Valley. I was not expecting to watch it because I was like, who cares? I don't need to see more Jax Taylor on my screen, right? But yeah, so expectations were low for the Valley, but wow, did it exceed my expectations? I will say for sure. Really and did. Also, if you're watching us, you're probably like, why does Laura look like this? So I modeled my outfit based off of Tom Schwartz. So I have a backwards hat on. He always has a backward hat hiding his strange hair. And I have like some kind of retro vintage windbreaker on because I felt like that was very Schwartz.
I'm giving your average LA girly that works at Stir by night and is at pool parties by day. I have my Dodgers cap, my cute little top, blonde braids. I could be hired at Sir today. I'm ready to go.
She's ready to go to Sir, folks. Get Sir for a Pumptini. Let's go. What were some of your favorite moments from season 11, Shelby?
I'm really impressed with James Kennedy's evolution. He started out this like crazy, obnoxious DJ, sleeping with Kristen just to get on the show, yelling at women, calling Katie fat. Like he was awful.
Horrible.
And he since has, dappled with sobriety. He seems to have matured. He bought a house in Burbank. So I honestly was impressed with all the entertaining he did at his house with Allie. He has a stable relationship. He owns a home. He's like the only couple to own a home now, given all the drama. Katie and Tom no longer are homeowners. Ariana and Tom are trying to get rid of their house. Lala no longer has a home with Randall. It's like, how did James all of a sudden become the homeowner?
The only homeowner.
So honestly, a highlight was just seeing him be the responsible one. Who would have thought? They had a pool party, an astrology night, the water tasting. Like they were the only place that could host events.
That's so true.
It was entertaining.
Think about that because I also was wondering, why are they always at James's house? They're always there because that's the only place that can fit everyone. That's
literally so and they can't do Tom and Ariana's house because that's like World War III.
Something else, one of my favorite moments were those chicken skewers on Ariana's nightstand. Dog murderer. Whose side were you on?
I am on Ariana's side, but she should be cleaner. Don't leave chicken skewers out like for days or overnight. That's disgusting.
So gross. And
if Tom needs to go into her room, he needs to call her and like ask permission. Like he can't just go into her room. So that's like the main reason why I'm on Ariana's side.
Because yes, he should have gotten permission to go into her room or given her a heads up. And how did he not realize the dog was locked in the bedroom? Like I don't understand how he just like let that happen. Like how did you not realize the dog was in the bedroom? Right? So yes, Ariana shouldn't have left the skewers there. And what did you think of the Tahoe trip in the beginning of the season? That was fun.
First of all, I will say I think the Vanderpump Rules budget has gone down because they used to go to like Mexico for trips and now they're going to Tahoe.
Now they're staying in the state. Like they didn't go.
They used to travel. Not anymore. I probably would have been with Katie and Ariana skipping the trip. I did not want to be forced to hang out with Schwartz or Sandoval, to be honest.
No.
It seemed like a nightmare. And they didn't do that much fun stuff, right? They had that like forced kind of yoga meditation event.
Yeah, it didn't seem like a fun trip at all.
No.
But something that did seem fun, Lala's sperm donor party. That was cute at Lisa Vanderpump's house.
Yes. Lala had an interesting arc this season, and I know we'll get into that. But I do think I was proud of her for wanting to have a baby on her own and realizing she doesn't need a man to do that. And I like how she was making a positive spin. Like, oh, yeah, I'll have a party trying to choose my sperm donor. It doesn't have to be like a something to do isolated or something to feel nervous or embarrassed about. Like, I'm going to celebrate this. And what normally might seem awkward or uncomfortable, she made it to be celebratory. So I was happy for her.
And I did like how we got to see more of Dan, Ariana's boyfriend, this season.
Yes.
He's an interesting figure. I feel like we still don't know that much about him. Like, he's not super, like, extroverted, right? Mm-mm. So I feel like we still don't really know much about his personality besides him being a personal trainer in New York. Like, that's all I really know.
He seems, like, mature, right? Like, he seems like he's not trying to get into the drama, which we love. Yes. But I agree. He felt like, not a caricature. I don't know. He just felt like Ariana's boyfriend, not an actual person.
I did love how he didn't shake Sandoval's hand when they finally met. He was just like, "Oh, hi."
Hilarious. He was like, I don't have time for you.
That was so funny. He left Sandoval's hand hanging there. It was so good.
So embarrassing. Good. I mentioned the water tasting briefly happening at James and Allie's house, but I actually really enjoyed that. The fact that they tasted what was it, like $1,000 bottle of water? Who knew water could be that expensive? But I like how they are celebrating what it is to, be sober. Like, you don't have to always have a wine tasting. Let's taste some water. So I liked the premise of it. Would I have enjoyed a water tasting? Maybe not, but I appreciate the sentiment.
Yeah, I loved how afterwards Ariana was like, "Okay, where's the wine? Like, let's pop a bottle." And I think in her confessional, she was like, "It all tasted the same." She was like, "I did not taste a difference." It's also bizarre how half of them are sober/sober curious, as Schwartz used that term, sober curious. I mean, rightfully so. All of them need to.
They probably should be. Yeah.
They all should be sober curious.
They drink a lot, especially when you watch early seasons. I'm like, oof, your livers. I hope they're okay.
Right. So on to least favorite moments.
Yes.
I mean, like Tom Sandoval. Anytime he was on the screen,
that's the least favorite moment.
Least favorite moment. He was nothing redeemable about him. Ugh. If you listen to our episode, our Bravo breakdown and Real Housewives of Beverly Hills with Ben Mandelker from Watch What Crappens. Mm-hmm. We talked about, Beverly Hills, of course, but we also talked a lot about Vanderpump Rules, and he had such a good take. We're not buying this Tom Sandoval redemption story, no matter how much the producers are trying to feed that to us. It felt so inauthentic, and Tom was like crying, and he's like, "Oh my gosh, like, I feel like such an outcast." And it's like, no. He has no remorse. He never apologizes for anything. And it's just so sickening. I can't watch him on TV. And he's going to be on the Traitors. And everyone is so upset about that. Girl, everyone's like, why?
I called it. I knew they would cast him. I had a feeling they would put him on, but I don't think the producers realize how much people are over him.
Like, we're over it.
He's probably going to get voted out first. I don't think anyone's going to want to play with him. He's going to be the biggest target.
If they don't vote him out first or murder him immediately,
I think he's going to be gone early. In particular, when he was interacting with his assistant, Anne, give him the worst boss award. Because the fact that he was having Anne clean up his house after parties and touch dirty underwear to put in his laundry, I would quit on the spot. Am I your maid or your assistant? Like, that's insane. He was like, "Oh, it's in the job description for her to clean." Well, then I would not have taken that job.
I love how Anne was like, "Ariana, save me. Get me away from this guy."
I work for you.
She was so excited. And Tom was like, "Ariana is like poaching Anne from me." And it's like, "No, sir.
You're driving Anne away."
Yes, you're driving Anne. Anne approached Ariana. And now Anne's working at Something About Her. We love to see it. So,
iconic.
Mr. Sandoval, it's not Ariana. It's you. Like, Anne wanted to work for her. It's giving clown. And you know what else is giving clown? We talked about how much James has changed for the better, which is true. But this whole hippie situation, this whole hippie graham cracker sitch is so wild. Okay, first, before we get into the other thing, would you think this isn't real? How did Graham somehow roll into Vanderpump Dogs? Lisa knew that it was Rachel's and James's old dog, and somehow she got the dog and brought and gave it to him. None of that makes any sense. How is that possible?
I feel like we're missing something. I want to believe it's real, but I mean, clearly Rachel did not want the dog anymore, or something happened, right? Like, did she give the dog to Lisa? Did the producers get the dog? Like, It's weird to think that Rachel would have put the dog on the street that she fought to keep, and then it be rescued by Vanderpump Dogs to be given to James. Like, it seems
too convenient,
far-fetched, and too convenient for that to actually be real. Right?
Graham was on the street, and then somehow it was given to Vanderpump Dogs and not any other shelter in LA? Are you kidding me? Producers, we're not that dumb. We're not that dumb, I promise. But it was cute to see that James, Graham, formerly known as Graham, now known as Hippie, means so much to James.
That was sweet.
Him picking the dog over Allie was so disturbing. So disturbing.
Yeah. If you have a girlfriend who's a human being, that should be the priority, not your dog. And I get it. You were separated, you were reunited. There's a lot of emotion there. And I wonder if it brought up feelings about Rachel. Like, you could tell, like,
Yes.
he was very emotional about getting Hippie back. So I feel like there's a lot going on there, but that doesn't excuse, like, telling Allie, you guys can't sleep in the same room because you need to be with Hippie. Or, like, not going to Allie's friend's wedding because you can't leave Hippie alone.
Something else I thought was so weird, Lisa, like, really taking Tom Sandoval's side in all of this.
Oof, yeah.
She was like, well, he's having, thoughts of self-harm, right? Which is obviously not good.
Mm-hmm.
It just felt like she was giving him so much grace.
Yes,
and
too much.
Way too much. And she was like, well, everyone's so hard on him. And it's like, yeah. He ruined so many people's lives.
And it's been like a month since it happened.
Right. And like, you're just going to forgive him like this? It just felt very weird that the few times we saw Lisa this season, it was her defending Sandoval.
Do you think it was genuine, or were the producers in her ear like, we need the cast to get along and forgive Tom. Do what you can.
Oh, it was definitely the producers being like, we need someone to be on his side.
Yeah.
And show him some grace. Because, right, if Lisa didn't talk to Sheena and Lala being like, Tom's having these thoughts, we need to support him, they ain't no way they would have been as nice to him. They're like, well, Lisa said this. So the producers are definitely chirping in Lisa's ear to get the rest of the cast on board and not so hostile to Sandoval.
Other things I didn't love were like Katie and Schwartz dating and sleeping around and then flirting with each other. Like, them being single now is weird. In particular, hey, you can do whatever you want, but the way that they are being single is strange. Like, Katie sleeping with Max, Schwartz's best friend. It was giving, like, revenge. But I'm like, why is this group so incestuous? And then the fact that Schwartz and Katie both were trying to date that girl, Tori. It was like, guys, you can date different people. They don't have to be in the friend group. I promise. It just was bizarre. So the way they were moving was a little weird. And then related to Schwartz and Tori, it's just weird that Sandoval and Schwartz were dating much younger women on the show and then are now dating in real life, like, current day, really young people. Like, I think Schwartz's girlfriend's like 23 or something. Disgusting.
I've seen both of their girlfriends. I think Sandoval's girlfriend is more closer to his age.
Yeah, like maybe she's 30 or 32.
Yeah, like I think she's like
more age appropriate.
Yeah, more age appropriate. But I'm like, what 23-year-old wants to date Tom Schwartz?
Literally making me gag.
What? Why? I don't understand. He's not
nothing attractive about him to me.
His personality, he doesn't really have money, right? He was like,
no, he's broke.
I'm like, for the clout, but like, what clout? I don't get it. And the girl is like young, beautiful. Like, I just don't understand. It doesn't make any sense. I'm like, that's me. Like, that girl's younger than me.
Disgusting.
Ew. Speaking of Schwartz, his hair. Why did he go blonde? I think he's clearly going through a midlife crisis. Cool. And him and Joe, oh my goodness. And also people were dragging Joe online, being like, that's not even how you would like dye someone's hair blonde. They're like, you start at the roots. Apparently people were like, she was starting from the ends of the hair and not the roots. I didn't pick that up, but I saw people online.
Isn't she a hairstylist?
Yeah, she's a hair. People were like, what is she doing?
And she doesn't know how to dye hair? I can't.
I mean, and Schwartz looks so bad.
He looks
so
awful.
Clearly,
why did she convince him to do that? He
bad
looked
friend.
Awful.
Joe and Schwartz in general, least favorite moment.
Everything about that was weird. I think it's weird that Joe and Schwartz were like living together as he was getting divorced, and they're like, oh, we're just friends, but clearly they were more than friends. Like, it was, everything about it was murky, and I blame Schwartz because the way Joe was introduced to the group, it was like in a bad way. Katie's never going to like her. And then it didn't help that she's really awkward and quirky. And then the fact that you would not claim her. So everyone was saying, you guys are doing things. And you're like, no, we're friends. Joseph, no, Joseph. It's like, Schwartz,
but you're saying I love you to each other?
Yeah, like, stop being so weird about this relationship.
What a clown. Yeah, Schwartz was such a clown this season. The hair, and also, the way he was leading Joe on. I do feel bad for Joe. I think that's
Mm-hmm.
all Schwartz's fault because I don't blame Katie for not liking Joe. I wouldn't like Joe either if I'm
No.
Katie, right?
Yeah.
This woman is living with, and they're like, we weren't living together. And it's like, you were sleeping at his home for a long period of time. You were
Yeah.
living with him for at least like a few weeks to a month or
Mm-hmm.
so, right? Like you're living together. I'd be mad too. You
For
know,
sure.
I just got divorced and this woman is sleeping in your house. Like I wouldn't like her either. So, and people were like, well, Katie was being so mean and so hostile to Joe. Could Katie have been, not as
Definitely.
rude to
Katie's
her?
delivery
Yes.
is sometimes a little harsh, but I
But she
do
was
think
like,
she was justified in
yes,
having a reaction. Like, this is her
yes,
husband of, not 2 years. They've been together a long time. And since the show started, Katie and Tom have been together. So she's
yeah.
dealing with that. And I think she deserves a little grace.
So let's get into the reunion. So what a mess. Lala and Sheena. What did you think of Sheena, wanting to get close to Sandoval and her being like, Ariana, I don't want to lose her friendship. She's so important to me. But her also wanting to be so close to Sandoval and being like, oh, he was the one, who accepted me. And like, she talked about, she was like, on Watch What Happens Live, he was the only one who would talk to me like 10 years ago. And we're like, Sheena, what are you talking about? What did you think of Sheena and Sandoval all season?
In such a big public breakup like this, and if Ariana is supposed to be your better friend or closer friend, you need to be on her side no matter what. And if she's telling you that she needs to have boundaries with Sandoval and you want to get to know Sandoval again, then you have to realize that might affect your relationship with her. Like, if you really want to be close with Sandoval that bad, then you have to understand the consequences. I do think, having watched the whole series, like, she was friends with Sandoval before being friends with Ariana. So I can understand that there's history there. But again, if Ariana is your best friend, then act like she's your best friend.
Do you really value Sandoval that much as a friend? Is he a good friend to you? And that's what Ariana and Katie were saying to her. We're like, Sandoval is not a good friend to you. Remember, he was like, he called her the other woman,
When Sandoval got mad, he would attack.
And it's like, girl, that's not your friend. He is not. And that's what their point was. They're like, why are you so obsessed with defending this man and trying to be his friend again when he is a bad friend to you? And I agree. It's like, why is Sheena so obsessed with wanting Sandoval in her life? I just don't get it. So in the reunion, Lala and Sheena were just acting so out of pocket to me, especially Lala. It felt like jealousy, the way they were calling out Ariana. Yeah, what did you think, especially Lala just coming for Ariana so hard?
The finale ends with a bang. It is in San Francisco. They take their trip up north again as a cast to celebrate Kyle Chan's alcohol
launch.
Yeah, something. Lala and Sheena get really frustrated with Ariana because she won't have a confrontation with Tom at this party and storms out with Dan and leaves early. And this leads Lala to feel like Ariana is not taking the show seriously. She's not showing all her life. She's not really caring about this like the rest of us. Like, this is my livelihood. Like, she goes in. Lala and Sheena are sadly a little jealous. They're not going to say it, and they're not saying it. But the amount of attention that Ariana has got post-Sandoval, right? She got to be on Dancing with the Stars, which has been Sheena's dream. Like, she's doing all these things and having such a high profile that Lala and Sheena want. And they're frustrated by that, and also frustrated that because Ariana has such a bigger profile, doesn't have much time for them. She's busy. And because of that, she can't be as focused on Vanderpump Rules. She's been on this for so much of her life. Now, the man she's trying to avoid at all costs is still on the show, and she doesn't want to be around him. After we had Charrisse on our podcast, and she said that the point of a show like this is you all have to get along and interact as a cast, I maybe empathize with what Lala was saying a little bit more. If you are a cast member on a show and you're all supposed to be friends and be on a cast, there are expectations. And in this case, Ariana was not living up to expectations. I'm on Ariana's side, given the circumstances, but now I think I can understand what Lala's saying a bit more than I initially felt about it.
I think Lala has a point in that, right? We're on a show, we have a job, we have to interact with each other. I acknowledge that. I think her being like, Ariana's not genuine. People are, on their toes. She's not sharing her life. All this stuff. I'm like, what are you talking about? I disagree with that. She's being so raw and authentic on the show, right? She's having like breakdowns and screaming matches, right? So I think Lala's being so unnecessarily harsh. I think Lala's being delusional. And a lot of people are like, Lala wants her moment. She thought the divorce from Randall was her moment. She thought the baby would be her moment. But no one cares, Lala.
Brutal.
And like, stop trying to diminish Ariana's light. Try and make her look bad because you are jealous of her success. That's what it's giving.
And it's crazy because she was saying things like, once this airs, people will be on my side. And that's not the case. People are not on her side. So I also think she's probably having a rude awakening, and what she thought was her moment and like people supporting her is not. And same for Sheena. Like, I feel like Sheena probably feels like, oh shoot, I'm on the wrong side. And I feel like Sheena is someone that cares about that a lot.
Yes.
I feel like 100%. She's very focused on what people think in social media. Remember when they were in Tahoe and she was in a photo with Schwartz standing next to him, and people on social media were like, oh my gosh, Sheena's in a photo with Schwartz. Sandoval, she's picking his side. And then she like was crying. And it's like, Sheena cares a lot about what people think. I feel like she's going to be on a redemption apology tour as well.
Also in the reunion, you see like Katie and Sandoval getting into it. And the way Sandoval's trying to come for her, it's like, no, you were the reason. You got in between her and Schwartz with this restaurant. And I loved how she was like, yeah, the restaurant should have been called Once Upon a Tom, but Sandoval didn't want the idea to be
best title
to come from me. That title's way better than Schwartz and Sandy's. That's such a bad name for a restaurant.
It's because Katie's been right about Sandoval the whole time, and he doesn't like that. Katie's a good judge of character, and she knew he was a clown the whole time, and she threatened his relationship with Schwartz. But sadly, Schwartz picked, Sandoval over his own wife. But, Katie calls it how she sees it. That's why I think she'd be a much better choice for the Traitors than Sandoval.
Yes. Way better, way better. And at one point, the Toms were thinking about being roommates. Like, what a train wreck. That would be so bad. They are
so weird and unhealthy, and they deserve each other. They're going to be best buds till the end of time.
Yeah, they should date each other. That's
honestly.
That's what's happened. So after the reunion, there's a bit of an ominous ending to the season. It's kind of like, is this the end? Right? It's on a hiatus right now. Some people say it's because Ariana's hosting Love Island USA. Why it's on hiatus. What do you think is going to happen with Vanderpump Rules?
I think it could be like a, Real Housewives of New York City moment where they wait like a year and then they kind of reboot or refresh. I think it's hard to fully reboot this show since the cast is so integral and people are tuning in because of them. The one season that Vanderpump tried to add like new people like Dana and Max, I didn't think it was as good. So I think the cast is really crucial to this. But I think maybe they take a break and try and refresh, maybe get new producers, think about bringing new people. Because I do think this ended with people really at odds. And I think they all need a little breather to think about how to move forward. But I'd hate for it to go out like this. Like, it's been such a good show for 11 seasons now. So for them to kind of have this anticlimactic ending, it'd be like shocking.
Yeah. And as we saw in the Real Housewives of Potomac, check out our episode. We had Charrisse, Jax and Jordan dish on the season, being a friend of the show. And we talked about with her that on a cast where people really don't like each other and want nothing to do with each other, it doesn't make for good TV, right? So I think there needs to be some kind of shakeup. There has to be some kind of shakeup. Because Lala hating everyone and Schwartz and still no one really liking Sandoval, it's not a recipe for success right now.
No. I mean, I think if anything, Ariana doesn't need the show anymore. So I could see her leaving. People are supportive of Ariana and she's become the biggest star. So I think it'd be bad for the show to lose her, but she doesn't need it anymore. Like maybe she's a friend or a guest and every now and then they go to something about her and she's there with Katie. But I feel like
Yeah.
to protect her peace, if they're going to keep Sandoval, I would not come back if I was her.
No. If I were Ariana, I'd be like, I'm leaving a Sandoval still there because I don't want anything to do with
Give
him.
them an ultimatum.
Right?
Yeah.
Or maybe she gets her own show about something about her. Like,
yeah.
I'd watch that.
I think they shouldn't cut ties or lose her completely, given her profile. But I have a feeling they want to keep Sandoval, right? They cast him on Traitors. They're doing everything they can for people to... So if that's the case, I think she should get out of there.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. Make it something about her show. I'd watch it.
Oh my gosh, yes, with her and Katie.
Her, Anne, and Katie, like, running the shop. Like, that'd be fun. That'd be fun. Okay, Shelby, we got to get into the Valley. We got to get into the Valley.
The Valley season 1.
The Valley
we'll
season 1.
We'll review this a little differently by going through the couples, since this show is all about these couples living in the Valley, having babies, you know.
Yes.
The first couple that we're going to talk about is Nia and Daniel, our wholesome Christian couple, probably the most stable couple.
Yes.
The only couple people like. Like, I feel like everyone else has issues.
Yeah, and like is strong. I mean, they're fine. Like, they're sweet.
Like, to be honest,
they had some moments I was like,
none of these couples are great. So you're right. Like is maybe strong, but out of all the options, I think Nia and Daniel are the best if you have to make a decision.
Yes, I agree. They just had twins, so they now have 3 kids. Mm-hmm. Daniel loves to be like, who has 3 kids? I do. And he's like, no one thinks about the dads. No one thinks about the dads. And it's like, no.
You're right. That's true.
No, we don't. We don't think about the dads because your wife just had twins. She's going through postpartum depression. Yeah, we're going to talk about her. So I did like how Nia was really open about having the quote baby blues and getting help, talking to her sister. I thought that was a good storyline. And then Daniel, he was a hot mess at that Babymoon. A hot mess.
Yeah, I feel like up until that point, he had kept everything together and been kind of like cool, calm, and collected. And the Babymoon, he had too much to drink. He snapped. It was giving like how, you know, Will Smith snapped at the Oscars and slapped Chris Rock. It honestly felt to that point because Daniel had felt like the only like stable, nice guy. And then all of a sudden we see his dark side. Dark side Danny came out.
Janet and Jason, another interesting couple. We just have to say, I don't know where Janet found Jason, but he's an attorney. He's tall. He's buff. He is so attractive. I'm like, whoa, he is fine. My goodness. What?
Little surprising couple. I mean, I think Janet's cute, but he's like hot. And it's just interesting. Like, I would not have paired them together.
No.
But,
yeah.
As we know, Jason says he likes vanilla. So maybe that's all he needed. He saw the first vanilla in front of him and got it.
He got vanilla. That is what he got.
For sure.
But I will say they showed a picture of Janet, like, pre-baby. Did you see that picture? She had, like, a crop top and, like, low-waisted pants, and she, like, had abs. Like, she was ripped. I was like, whoa. Yeah, I remember seeing that picture on the show. So, I mean, yes, like, she, you know, right, she's pretty and everything. But, like, Jason is, like, a specimen, you know. But, yeah, like you said, he got his vanilla. Yeah, the Babymoon was just a hot mess. And her being pregnant all season. I thought it was funny how Zach was just coming for Janet. What did you think about Janet not inviting Zach and Kristen on the Babymoon?
I mean, she's entitled to do whatever she wants, right, at her Babymoon. But it did feel petty. Like, Janet has been petty all season and messy and stirring the pot. And it felt more like stirring the pot than having who she wants at her event.
I thought it was interesting. People were like, oh, Kristen's so messy, whatever. But but Jax and Janet, they're all stirring the pot. I think they're all stirring the pot pretty
literally.
When Zach yelled at her at Jax's, the bar opening, I thought that was so funny. And all season long, Zach is like, her being pregnant is not an excuse for her stirring the pot and being messy. I just loved how Zach called her out. So good.
Crazy. Yeah, Zach, he was funny. I felt like he was just there to interject and stir the pot every now and then. Like, he didn't really have a real storyline, but he delivered on the drama. He did. He was being petty and messy.
Yes, he gave what needed to be given. Like, exactly. I was here for Zach. Okay, Kristen and Luke, not a married couple, but actively trying to have a baby. What did you think of Kristen apparently thinks she's found the one, and they're trying to decide if they're moving back to Colorado and living on a farm. They're trying to have a kid. Like, what did you think of this relationship?
It's interesting because if you know Kristen from Vanderpump Rules, she dated Tom Sandoval. So she was Sandoval's, first girlfriend on the show. And then she dated this guy, Carter. And now she's dating Luke. Luke seems like the nicest guy out of all of them. So I'm like, that's good. But it does seem like now that Kristen's like 40, she's rushing. I'm like, her and Luke have barely known each other a year and are trying to move in together. They're trying to have a baby. It just seems like she's rushing and doing a lot because she knows she's getting up there in age, which I understand. I'm sure it's like stressful and you're trying to figure this out. But it's hard for me to know, is he the one or is she just trying to like make this happen because of the timeline?
Yeah, I mean, truly, I'm not convinced by any of these couples. And Kristen, like, oh, he's the one. We're trying to have a baby. It just feels like, what are we doing here? I don't know. And I've been watching Watch What Happens Live, and it's some people think, Kristen and Luke are meant to be, from the show. So it's interesting hearing that. But I don't know. I'm not convinced by Kristen and Luke. They are, opposites. He's very chill and mellow.
Oh my gosh.
So
shockingly opposite. It's like so polar opposite. She's like a Tasmanian devil having a lot going on 24/7. He's just like a cool cucumber. But hey, it's what she needs. I think that's what she needs.
Exactly. And Kristen's James May clothing line party. I will say, Kristen, you uninvited Janet from the party, and then you're mad she didn't invite you to the Babymoon? Make it make sense, right?
It's very
Doesn't that make no sense?
Yeah. Classic. Honestly, having known Kristen from Vanderpump Rules, I was like, it didn't surprise me. She kind of is that person who's like, just does what she needs to do in the moment and then doesn't care about consequences. And then we'll be like, why are you doing this to me? It's like, well, you did this. And she like doesn't care. Yeah, it adds up.
On to our next couple, Michelle and Jesse.
Not me smiling. I'm like, oh, can't wait to get into these two.
What a train wreck. What a train wreck.
She's gorgeous.
Oh, model.
But like from the jump, when we got in episode 4 or 5, seems like she did not like her man. It seems like she was over it. She was kind of mean. She was like unbothered. I was like, ooh. Like, not that Jesse was a saint, but Michelle was definitely being cold.
She was sick of him. She had enough.
Did not even pretend. And I was like, wow, you don't usually see that. Like, I was shocked watching it because she was like chip chop. You could tell that they were going to get divorced sooner or later.
She was done. And I don't blame her. Jesse is too much. He was like fighting people, pantsing people, like so combative. And I loved, he was like, oh, I'm going to go on a retreat, to fight for a marriage. And he was like, what do you want? And she was like, I need you to change like everything about you. And he was like, what? Like, you want me to change my personality? She's like, yes.
She was a savage. Michelle's
she was like,
savage.
Yeah, change everything about you.
Gosh.
And then our marriage will work.
Play.
Oh, she was so good.
She was hilarious.
She was so good.
Wow.
Yeah. Jesse was just a mess. I don't know how she dealt with him. Maybe, I'm like, was he always like that? Because I'm like, girl, how did you put up with that man?
I know. And I also was confused why they would join a dating show when your relationship's in shambles.
Like, I know, a show all about your marriage.
Like, you did not need to be put under a microscope because you were already bursting the seams. And now, it just was surprising because at least Jax and Brittany, who we're about to talk about, were in delusion, thinking that they were all good. But these two, there was no delusion. You could tell she was ready to go. But yeah, they were like, yeah, let's do reality TV.
Yeah. And it was interesting. I watched a Watch What Happens Live with Jesse, and he was saying that the season was really hard to watch because he was fighting for the marriage. He thought there was still hope, right? He did this weird retreat thing that I still don't understand. And he thought, there was hope, but he was like, whoa, yeah, Michelle was checked out. Like, Michelle was done.
Out.
There was no hope or saving anything from her perspective. And he didn't realize that until watching it back. So I thought that was interesting.
Brutal.
And it's interesting, they've been separated for I think about a year or so, and they're both in relationships now. Both Michelle and Jesse have new partners.
Very fast.
Fast, right? Really fast. So that's interesting. And I will say on the show, I didn't really find Jesse attractive. I was like, why is Michelle with him? I'm like, he's not that cute. But I will say, when he was on Watch What Happens Live, I was like, whoa, he looked way better, like way more attractive.
That
I was like,
post-show
okay.
glow up.
Yes, I was like, if he, maybe. I was like, okay, I see it. I see why maybe she found him attractive. So yeah, go watch him on Watch What Happens Live. He looks good.
I'll do that after this.
Okay, Shelby. Jax
big couple
and Brittany. Ooh. Okay, let's get into it.
First of all, the Valley's really their show, right? Like, they were on Vanderpump Rules. Jax was a main character, marries Brittany on the show, gets fired, and the Valley, they're the core. They're the anchor. Everyone is like their friends. So we saw a lot of them, almost like too much. And we saw all of their various business ventures, like Jax's hair loss, partnership, his new bar called Jax's in Studio City that he's opening with Brittany. We didn't really see much of Brittany's pursuits, even though she said she was the breadwinner. So I
thought that was interesting.
Trying to figure that out. I'm like, why didn't we see any of her businesses? But we saw a lot of their businesses. But the big thing we saw was the demise of their relationship. And not a surprise to me, since I watch Vanderpump Rules, but Jax has been mean from the jump. So not surprising that even though they've been married and have a kid now, that he's yelling at her and being demeaning.
Horrible.
Like, so bad. Like, their date night that's supposed to be this fun night, he's like railing into her. It's not romantic. Multiple instances of him like yelling at Brittany when they're at the Big Bear trip and she's looking at a video of their son Cruz at a swimming lesson and he's crying and he's like, turn that off, Brittany, stop, I don't want to see it. I was like, what?
He like hit the phone out of her hand.
Oh my gosh, it was like with this guy? So,
oh my gosh,
I was shocked. And then similarly at this awful Big Bear trip, he mocks Brittany for drinking. And she actually hadn't been drinking, but she has a lot of stomach, digestive issues that can be exacerbated by drinking. And he thought she was drinking. So he's like bashing her to all of the girls. And they're like, no, she hasn't been drinking. She is literally in the next room, comes out and is like, Jax, stop it. You shouldn't be, talking about me like this. You should be supporting me. And then he yells at her. And I'm just like, he
toxic.
Should not be treating his wife this way. It was so bad.
It's so strange that he talks so bad about her to other people. Because, like, wouldn't you want, to hype up your wife or hide your problems?
You would think.
No, he's like, she drinks way too much. She's always drunk. Making her seem like she's an alcoholic.
Literally.
And it doesn't seem like that at all. And she was like, you drink so much. And he's like, well, I handle my alcohol. And it's like, this guy is out of his mind. It's just really sad. Because I remember, right, I haven't watched all of Vanderpump Rules, but I just remember hearing through all the years that people were like, why is Brittany still with Jax? I just always remember hearing that. And it's like, girl. And a lot of people are saying, we don't feel bad for you, Brittany, because this man has been the same clown that he is today for 10 years. Why are you surprised that he's treating you like garbage? He's always treated you like garbage, mama.
I'm slightly in that camp, but Jax should not be talking to her that way. No, so I will always be on her side. But I do agree that there were so many red flags and warning signs and outs for her to get out of this relationship before marrying him.
And like having his kid?
They were engaged and he slept with someone. Like, she could have broken off the engagement, right? There were so many times when she had a chance to leave this clown and she didn't. So it's hard for me, like you said, to feel bad, right? He got arrested in Mexico when they were dating and she stayed with him. Like, there have been plenty of moments for her to leave him.
The last episode of The Valley was so good, the way it played out. We saw Jesse and Michelle, kind of finalize their separation. They're living separately. They're getting their divorce figured out. And then we see Brittany, move into an Airbnb. The fact that Jax forced Brittany and Cruz to move out into an Airbnb and he's in that huge house. These men are nuts. Like, what? Oh my gosh, the entitlement. What is wrong with him? Let Brittany and Cruz stay in the house. You're going to uproot Cruz, your son, from the home?
What's clownish is that before the finale, Jax is saying these things like, "Would never get divorced. We don't believe in that.
We don't believe
like
in divorce.
we're fine. Nothing's gonna happen." And the guys are like, "Okay, it's not what
Okay.
Brittany's telling our wives, but whatever you say, live in your Delulu." And then like months later, they're separated.
I don't understand Jax, because clearly he doesn't like Brittany. They're not having sex. You don't want anything to do with her. You yell at her constantly, but you're like, we're never getting divorced. We don't believe in that. It's like, why?
Yeah,
I don't understand. You don't like her.
Didn't make sense at all. I agree.
And okay, so what I've heard is that the divorce was because they were fighting and Jax was yelling at her all the time, treating her like garbage. And they say infidelity didn't have anything to do with it. But of course there's rumors, there's always rumors about Jax, cheating on her, having sex with women in bathrooms at these restaurants and bars.
A lot of rumors.
Right? Like, they're not having sex. So, I mean, Jax, I would be so surprised if
it's hard for me to believe he's not doing something. I agree.
Right?
100%.
I'd be shocked.
Given his reputation, come on.
Right?
Very
so I don't believe
surprised.
He was most definitely cheating on her. For sure. For sure. Okay, are we ready for our categories?
Yes.
Okay, who or what from Vanderpump Rules Season 11 and The Valley Season 1 did you love to hate? Mixed feelings.
The Pump Rules timeline from shooting to airing. We mentioned this briefly in our episode with Ben Mandelker, but it felt like the Pump Rules producers were trying to gaslight us into feeling bad for Tom Sandoval and being mad at Ariana, because it's a year later. We're watching this and everyone's like, why is Ariana still mad? Pump Rules Season 11 filmed last summer. So like last July, August, only a few months after the Sandoval issue. So Ariana was barely a few months removed from finding out her, boyfriend of 10 years, like, cheated on her. And the show made it seem like it happened so long ago. And you can't really change that because shows, film so far in advance. But so it's in love to hate for me, because I feel like the audience needs to be aware of stuff like that, because we're watching it in real time and we're like, oh my gosh, why is she so upset? It's like, she just found out about this, but we're watching it now. So it's like a weird dynamic.
Yeah, I definitely did not like how they're trying to villainize Ariana. I thought that was really weird. And the cast was trying to be like, Ariana, don't harbor so much hatred for him. And it's like, let her feel her feelings. I just thought that was so annoying. Something else for love to hate: the forced diversity on the Valley. It just felt like they just needed some extra characters, so it wasn't just all white people plus Michelle, who's Latina, who you could argue, is white passing. But, they have the gay bestie, Zach, who was being, like, over the top and, like, really dramatic.
Oh, gosh, he did the most.
I mean, I really enjoyed him, so I'm really happy he was there. I loved, just anytime he got into it with Janet, that was so good. And then we also have Jasmine, the one black face in the show. But,
former Bachelor contestant.
Yes, she was on Nick by all season. Shelby clocked that immediately.
I recognized her right away.
She was on The Bachelor. I did not pick that up at first. But, like, I really liked Jasmine on the show. I thought she was a breath of fresh air. I think Jasmine and Zach were the narrators pretty much, but it's like we didn't get to know them at all. I forgot that Jasmine had a girlfriend. Like, why isn't her girlfriend a part of the cast if it's all about couples, right? Like, why don't we see more of Jasmine and her girlfriend? I don't even know the girlfriend's name. It's like Kristen isn't married, so it doesn't have to be married couples. So I just thought it was weird how they didn't integrate them more into the cast. So I didn't love that.
Should we move on to hate to hate?
Yes. The Toms acting like clowns.
Of course.
It's like they get worse and worse every single season. Remember that scene when they were like in the convertible and they're like, just acting wild.
And they're like, midlife crisis. Ha ha ha.
Ha ha ha. And it's like, Mama, it's not a joke. Like, you're literally living in a midlife crisis. Y'all need to get together. Help. Yes. Get therapy, please. And I like, Shelby, how you said that Sandoval dresses like a 70s porn star, because he does. Their style, both him, Schwartz dresses like a college frat bro, like very bummy, and Sandoval dresses like he's trying to be some like vintage,
like a pimp.
Yes, it's giving like 70s rocker meets pimp. It's
he has
so
like the porn
weird.
star mustache. I'm like, what are you doing?
And he also has aged like 10 years in the past year. He looks really old now. He
Yeah.
does not look good. And also, yeah, their home, that poor, wretched, cursed house. Like, I kind of
Oh
like
my
what her
gosh.
friends were saying to her, Ariana, like, get out of the house,
You
right?
do
It's a
not need
great
to be there
house,
anymore.
but there's some bad juju in there.
Juju,
Like,
for sure.
do not live there. And Shelby,
Mm-mm.
doesn't Ariana apparently live in your neighborhood? You guys are neighbors
Yeah,
now.
apparently she bought a house in like the Hollywood Hills. I don't live in the Hollywood Hills, but I'm nearby. And one of my neighbors was like, "Oh my gosh, yeah, like I think she was like, Aaron and Maddox had like moved in nearby." I was like, "What?" It's like, "Oh my gosh."
Keep an eye out, Shelby.
I know. I'm like, I
gotta say hi. And something else that I have, the theme song for the Valley. Who chose that? Who chose the theme song?
I honestly would try to fast forward, but it was so short you couldn't really. But
I know. I was like trying to hit skip on Peacock. I was like, I don't want to hear the theme song.
Yeah, I did not like it. I was confused when it first started. I was like, wait, this is a theme song? Because the Vanderpump Rules theme song's good. So I was like, no way they chose this. It's like so weird.
It's
weird
like kind of rockish.
Yeah.
It's like, it's all right. I don't like it
Doesn't
at all.
fit.
I don't like it at all. No. Like the visuals and stuff are weird too. They're all like walking around their houses with like strollers and like
like riding on kitty cars. And I was just like, y'all could have done a little better. Like we get they're meant to be with families and we get it's not Vanderpump Rules, but you could have them looking a little cuter.
Who or what do you have for Love to Love?
Of course, our dynamic duo from Pump Rules, Ariana and Katie, loved their healthy boundaries, loved that they're getting into business. Finally, I'm going to open something about her. Like, I just thought they were like a good pair and kind of like the only redeeming part of Pump this season.
I agree. They're the only two people I was actually rooting for.
Yeah.
And like we said, the travel budget this season for both of those shows, down the drain. Like, they didn't even leave the state. They went... The Valley only went to Big Bear. Yes, it very much so giving California ad. Tahoe and then San Francisco. I'm like, y'all are taking 1 hour flights. Like
hilarious.
This is
or driving. They drove to Big Bear.
So I just thought that was bizarre. Okay, Shelby, red flag, green flag, 1, 2, 3. Okay. Is it a red flag to be jealous of your friend's success, like Lala and Sheena?
Yes. Major red flag. I'm sorry, if you're a real friend, you better be supportive, ride or die. You shouldn't be jealous of your friend's success. You should be the biggest supporter, cheering them on.
I know.
And it makes me think you weren't real friends in the first place.
Ooh, facts are facts. Especially the way Lala's coming for Ariana. Why are you being so harsh on her? Like, you're not a real friend. If you got so much to say about me.
I think for Ariana, it's cutting season. It's time to prune
snip
relationships that aren't for you.
I think Ariana should leave Vanderpump Rules.
I'm telling you,
it's not serving her in any way. You're hosting Love Island. Like, you do not need the show. No. Tell Bravo, I need a new show because I'm not returning back to this.
She should pull a Candy Burris or a Bethany Frankel.
Lisa Vanderpump, right?
When people are over their shows or getting too big, they get their own show or like a spinoff. See how it does. So, Laura, question for you: is it a green flag to jump into a relationship right after a toxic breakup, like Ariana did with Dan?
It's not a green flag. I don't think it's a red flag. I just think it's like, it's a little suspect. And I think, right, people on the season talked about it. Like, who is Dan? They met like 3 weeks after the whole scandal.
That's crazy. The timeline's a little wild.
Yeah, the timeline is pretty crazy. I mean, Dan, right, we didn't get to see him that much this season. But I think Ariana, she probably needs more than a month, to heal from a 10-year relationship. You would think, she seems fine now, but clearly, she was dealing with a lot of anger, rightfully so. Mm-hmm. And I feel like, from my perspective, I probably would need some time not in a relationship, to process everything. So it's not a green flag. I don't know if it's a red flag, but no, not a green flag.
100%. How are we feeling about Vanderpump Rules and The Valley? Is season 11 a wait or a watch? And then is season 1 a wait or a watch?
I have to say, I think Vanderpump Rules season 11, I think it might be a wait.
Oh.
Because I think season 10 was so amazing. Like, peak reality television. And then this season, the expectation was really high. I just don't think season 11 delivered. Because it's like, everyone's mad at, like, how is Ariana the villain? Why is everyone mad at her? It just doesn't make any sense. And Sandoval is the one getting redemption and sympathy. And it just feels so bizarre. It felt like the cast and the producers were gaslighting us into being mad at Ariana and having sympathy for Sandoval. And just the male shenanigans on that show, like Schwartz is acting a fool. Brock, it was the way he was defending the men. I was like, what? And now James is like friends with Schwartz and Sandoval again. I just was not buying it. And now the women are, you know, anti-Ariana. I just don't understand. So I didn't love season 11. I thought it was a little disappointing, especially, Lala just going off the rails and coming for Ariana. It just felt really unsettling. But I will say the Valley season 1, definitely a watch. 100%. I was shocked how good it was. I was like, this is great. It was giving Vanderpump Rules season 10 to me. Like, that's what it was giving. It felt like cinema, the way it ended. I need a reunion. Why was there not a Valley reunion? Set that up, right? Like, we needed a reunion. I want to see more of the Valley. So yes, that was a watch. I thought it was better than Pump Rules season 11, hands down. What did you think?
I differ slightly. I think they're both watches. Yes, Pump Rules season 11 was not as good as season 10, but I still thought it was entertaining. And I was really curious to see post-Sandoval aftermath.
Yeah.
And I also think because I was finally live, I was like, yay, I'm live with Pump Rules. I get to watch it. Completely agree on the Valley. It was such an entertaining train wreck with the demise of 2 married couples. Like, you couldn't have asked for more in a reality TV show. When we think of our What to Watch segment, the Valley, even though it didn't have a reunion, is currently filming season 2. So we have more of that coming. And all of the couples are coming back, even the ones who are now separated. Which,
bizarre.
Again, the producers are producing, or the cast is crazy. I don't know. Maybe it's both. But it just makes it so exciting. I cannot wait for the Valley season 2 because it's going to be messy.
It'll be real good, real good.
Real good. Well, and on the other hand, Pump Rules, we do not know if it's coming back for season 12 yet. As we mentioned briefly earlier, it's on hiatus. They've said to give the cast a break. We know Ariana's doing Love Island. Lala's about to have another baby. So everyone has things going on. You know, Tom's on the Traitors. But I genuinely think a New York City type thing is coming where they're going to have to either do a soft reboot or a new producer or something.
And also Love Island USA, as we mentioned, now hosted by Ariana Madix. That's happening right now. I don't think I'll be watching. There's just too much. And Love Island UK is just historically better. So I'm currently watching that. But yes, I know that Shelby and I, next time I'm in LA, we're going to have to go to Something About Her.
Yes, the sandwich shop in WeHo. Gotta support Ariana and Katie's new business. It's finally open after years of anticipation. And apparently
we'll have
really
to vlog it and give it our review. So be ready for our content on Something About Her.
Can't wait. And I mean, technically, Jax is Studio City and Schwartz and Sandy's are options, but we will not be going. You guys can review and let us know, but I'd rather give my money to Something About Her.
Yes. And we actually drove past Jax's while we were in LA and we saw it and we jump scare. We're like, Jax's. Yeah. We have not seen Schwartz and Sandy's and hopefully I don't pass by it.
Yeah. Not planning on it.
Well, thank you all so much for listening to this episode of Sisters Who Watch. If you enjoyed our review, please give us 5 stars wherever you listen to podcasts, Spotify, Apple. We're everywhere, so give us 5 stars, please. That would mean a lot. And make sure you go follow us on all our social media platforms, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, LinkedIn. We're there, so go support us. Give us a follow. Give us some likes, yes. And we have merch. I'm wearing our hat backwards in honor of Tom Schwartz. Go to our website, sisterswhowatch.com, and go to our shop tab, and you can find all our merch there. We have hats, sweatshirts, everything. And we now have listener support on Spotify, so you can subscribe and you can send us some money every month. That would mean the world to us. And we have a Zelle too, so you can Zelle us, sisterswhowatch@gmail.com, and you could support us that way too.
Yes, we really appreciate y'all. We want to hear from you. Please respond to our Q&As and polls on Spotify. You can comment on our social media posts and YouTube videos. You can also email us. Tell us what to watch at sisterswhowatch@gmail.com. Thank you all so much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Stay watching.